to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go!
From powerhouse vocalist Natasha Owens, known for standout singles like Trump One and Somali Waltz, comes her brand new release, The Boss, released on Real America's Music. This is the direct response to Bruce Springsteen's recent release, The Streets of Minneapolis, while Springsteen once branded himself as a voice of the working class.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. It took us less than 24 hours to see the attacks that we warned about on this program unfold. ISIS-inspired, Islamic Jihad-inspired terror attacks here on U.S. soil. There were at least two of them, one in Virginia. That's the Old Dominion University. The other was a shooting and car ramming outside Detroit at a synagogue in Bloomfield. Let's start with the Old Dominion gunman. This was someone with a history of ties to ISIS. In fact, he had been convicted of conspiring to attack the United States military. Well, he goes to Old Dominion and attacks an ROTC class. Those ROTC, one killed, two wounded. The rest of the class sprung into action, subdued the guy, and ultimately killed him, stabbed him to death. But here's the crazy thing. You can't find that anywhere in the mainstream media. The mainstream media doesn't like talking about Muslim suspects, and they don't like talking about American heroes who stopped these attacks. This is the FBI agent.
There were students that were in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
Rendered him no longer alive? How about the students, ROTC, future military leaders, were fighting for their lives. They tackle a guy and stab them to death. That's how it went down. And they are heroes for this. How many more could have been killed? Now, this suspect came in with a rifle. And if these kids didn't spring into action, there'd be more people dead. This same suspect just got out of prison 15 months ago for this other ISIS-inspired attack. Told the judge he's a changed man, would never do this. He's a naturalized citizen from Sierra Leone. That should concern you as well. Here's the FBI again.
How it was an act of terrorism? I can tell you that we have confirmed reports that prior to him conducting this act of terrorism, he shouted or stated Allah Akbar, and he was formerly a subject of an FBI investigation in material supporting terrorism.
He wasn't just a subject of investigation, he was convicted of it, okay? And sent to prison. The government was looking for 20 years. This guy conspiring, buying an AK-47 to go attack the United States military. He yells Allahu Akbar. It's pretty much a terrorist attack. Good riddance to this guy. But, you know, it's amazing because the Democrats, story after story that I read on Old Dominion, I couldn't find anything until I got to the New York Post, of course, that told me about these hero students. But this is what it is. The American media today hates the idea of heroes stopping bad guys, especially Muslim bad guys, because they don't want you to know that they exist. Now to the attack on the synagogue outside of Detroit in West Bloomfield, Michigan. That attacker drove his car into this synagogue, gets out with a long gun again, starts firing shots, and thank God the synagogue had a hired security officer, armed, by the way, that took out the threat and killed him. Now, we believe the attacker is also a naturalized citizen from Lebanon, but the police won't confirm that either. We do know the car was registered to someone from Lebanon. And this guy, too, made all kinds of terroristic threats when he got out of the vehicle. Here's the sheriff.
A car came to the facility, breached the facility by driving into it, was engaged by security. We believe there is one individual deceased in the vehicle. It's been complicated because there was some fire, to say the least, with that vehicle. We believe that individual is deceased.
What is it with cops? Why can't they just talk normally? The guy who shot up the place is dead. That's what you have to say. We believe he's deceased. He's dead, okay? Deader than a doornail, and good riddance. He also had all kinds of explosives in his car, from what we're being told. But they pussyfoot around this, whether they're in Virginia or whether they're in Detroit. We believe the suspect here, too, had a car that he ran in that was from Lebanon. He was from Dearborn, Michigan. What is Dearborn, Michigan? The capital of Muslim jihadists in Michigan. That's what Dearborn is, but nobody wants to talk about this stuff. The media refuses to give any information because I believe he's going to turn out to be a Muslim jihadist, okay? Here's Darren Porcher, good friend of this program, on Fox, talking about the coordination of law enforcement and this synagogue. They believe they had tips that an attack like this was coming, and clearly the synagogue was ready for it with that hired security.
The testament that we really need to support is that relationship between police and law enforcement, how they have that recurring training between the two entities, because that's going to be paramount. Oftentimes, these religious institutions, such as what we see here on television, have hired ex-police officers who are skilled and have a genuine understanding in how to provide the fortification in the building, such as what we see here.
Notice the theme tonight. I want every Democrat to listen to me. Both of these bad guys were stopped by good guys. Both of these bad guys with guns were stopped by good guys, one with a knife, the other with a firearm. I recommend the easiest way to stop bad guys with guns is good guys with guns. And it plays out over and over again. I don't know why Democrats can't get this through their heads. But the blame game is now beginning. They're blaming guns. They're blaming Republicans. And, of course, the number one guy to blame in all of this, if you're a Democrat, would be President Trump, I guess. This is CNN.
It's something that all of us have been warning about, that, this may be a regional war, but it's going to have global consequences. And one of them is going to be incitement, radicalization, in particular as Islamic terrorist groups.
I don't think incitement is a fair word. We are stopping a threat in Iran and the Middle East, a threat to the entire world, the free world anyway. That doesn't incite people. People are deranged lunatics. They're already here. They were looking for an excuse to attack. They're itching to attack. Who knows how many of them are here? Now, I could say this, the media, I actually believe they have a thirst for these attacks. They want these attacks to unfold so they can go blame President Trump and everything the military is doing in the Middle East right now. But again, I'll say this. We warned you last night on this program that this could happen. And sure enough, it did. Here was that warning with Sheriff Mack.
We know they've come here. The training all over the world that our sheriffs and police are attending shows that they are here. Tens of thousands. The training I've seen, there's over 100,000 terrorists in our country from the Middle East that have infiltrated our country.
That means anybody could be a target. Now, what are the chances of you getting caught up in this? Probably slim. But the chances of another one of these attacks happening, I believe, are 100%. So you've got to be prepared. And the best way to be prepared is take that upon yourself. You are your own personal protection detail. I want to bring in now retired police sergeant, former SWAT and current tactical training instructor for law enforcement. Our good friend Jose Medina is back. Jose, welcome back to the show.
Hey, good evening, Grant. Thanks for having me back.
Jose, you and I talked about this just a couple weeks ago, and here we are again, and lo and behold, it was good guys with guns or weapons that stopped these bad guys. Do you think as a nation we're ready to stop these attacks in all of these places?
I totally agree, and I think quietly a lot of Americans are just getting their training. They're pushing for that, what would you say, be your own bodyguard. And I think they're just going to quietly just conceal carry, say for the civilians, the police side of the house. The police are training the best they can with the time that they're given by their agency. So everyone's training, even the synagogue, the special security teams, they get the alerts. You said it before. A lot of these departments, they funnel those alerts out as warnings, awareness warnings, and these specific places, they start preparing for it. And the citizens themselves, as you said before, people have had enough, and they're going to quietly conceal. They're never going to showcase their concealed carry guns on the civilian side. And just like in Old Dominion, you saw the ROTC heroes, they took out the suspect. And as you said before, the politically correct talk about this, they want to glorify these terrorists and then put down and quietly push aside the heroes. That's what they do.
Jose, you worked in law enforcement, mainly in New Jersey in your career, but you trained police departments all across the country. Do you get frustrated when you see specifically law enforcement, especially in Michigan, outside of Detroit, where there's so many Muslims, them pussyfoot around the issue, them refuse to confront the danger of Islamic jihad head on? They don't want to tell you about the suspect. They don't want to claim it's the guy could yell Allahu Akbar and light off an IED, and they still won't tell you it's terrorism, Jose.
Yes, well, we live in the post 9/11 world, right? And we should be looking at these things saying, hey, this is who this person is. They've been screaming these things out. They have a background in supporting places, organizations like ISIL. As law enforcement, many cops that I train and many leaders I train say what you're saying and what I say. They say it is what it is. They're terrorists. That's it. They're terrorists. They're inspired by what's going on overseas. You talk about Iran, 47 years we've been dealing with them. And that country, they got 47 years of we don't care about anybody but ourselves and we'll kill whoever we can. So you have these inspired lone wolves going out there doing their thing, where law enforcement officials, the ones that kind of tiptoe around it, they really need to just get their heads clear and say, this is what it is. It's a terrorist attack. And when Columbine, I'll go back to Columbine. Columbine happened, you have two men who killed a bunch of people. And here we are with the terrorists calling Allah Akbar, and yet we want to say the male, the men, the subject. They got to stop dancing around this.
Yeah. You gave great advice to the people out there to be your own bodyguard. Your advice to police departments around the country, especially in this heightened state of alert that we're in right now, Jose?
My advice is put as much training as you can for your officers. I understand due to the fact that a lot of departments are trying to hire new people. They're trying to get more manpower, but continue to push the training, not to check off the boxes. But many of the departments that I love to train with, they're training for a purpose because they know this is a whole new element that's coming our way. It really is. And they have to start training with a purpose, not just training to check off a box.
Yeah. Great advice. Jose Medina, always good to see you. Thank you. The website to find Jose and his company is apc360zone.com. Buddy, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Grant. Have a good night.
Absolutely. You too. Stay safe out there. All right, I want to turn now to, I guess, the spark that unleashed many of these terrorists, at least in the short term. And that, of course, is this special operation in Iran. We are now getting word, this is somewhat breaking news, that an American plane has crashed in Iraq. This was specifically an aerial refueling plane. We are told it was not shot out of the sky. We are not getting exact details as to why it crashed, but that it was not shot out of the sky. There is a search on for the crew members right now. The other big news, of course, was the attacks on these freighters in the Persian Gulf and Straits of Hormuz, including an American-owned ship. What you're looking at there is one of the vessels, as you can hear him yelling Allahu Akbar, with an unmanned surface vessel, basically waterborne kamikazes that go into these freighters and have lit them on fire. Now, the problem with this is this creates all kinds of uncertainty in the global markets, as you can imagine. Why we weren't prepared for this, I don't know. I don't normally criticize the military, but I will criticize the commander of the Fifth Fleet. We've known for decades that this is Iran's only play when it comes to fighting back against an American military like they're facing right now, is to hit civilian boats. How we did not prevent this, I do not know. If you don't believe me, listen to the message offered up by the Supreme Leader. He's going to continue doing this.
And also mention about how the closing the Hormuz Strait should be used and reopen it if the war is stopped.
So that's a threat. You know what I say to that threat? The same thing President Trump is going to say to that threat. Ugats to you. You're not stopping anything for you. That's basically propaganda designed at us. But here's the thing. We've got to get it under control. We can't have swarms of drones taking out freighters filled with oil. Now, Iran ignored two of President Trump's warnings, one being, do not elect the son of the Ayatollah as your next leader. They did it. President Trump issued a warning just last night on this program saying, do not bomb civilian freighters moving through the Straits of Hormuz, or else. They did it. President Trump, I am told, is furious over Iran right now, and furious that we did not stop this from happening. Here's President Trump last night. Iran better look out.
Go alongside of them for protection. I don't think it'll be necessary if it is. And if they do anything, the price will be incalculable. It will be so great that they will have wished they never did it, because you have to keep the straits flowing.
They're going to run out of drones at some point. We're already blowing up the factories that are making these drones. So at some point, they're going to run out of the ability to attack us. The other option is, of course, naval ships escorting them. I thought that was happening. Scott Bessent says this.
My belief that as soon as it is militarily possible, the U.S. Navy, perhaps with an international coalition, will be escorting vessels through.
And that came up just now in the Situation Room.
Your words, not mine. But again,
are we days away from that?
We've been planning for this. We've done scenario analysis for months, for weeks, leading into this.
Look, let me say this. Up until this moment, the war has been going fabulously. We are winning in a very, very big way. I've never seen a military operation this successful in this short a time. But this is something we needed to be better prepared for. I didn't think they'd get close to these freighters because of the United States Navy, and this time they did. So, okay, we dust our boots off and go make sure it doesn't happen again. I want to bring in now to discuss this former U.S. Navy JAG officer, former federal prosecutor, and military historian. Don Brown is back with us. Don, welcome to the program.
Grant, it's good to see you tonight. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Don. I don't like to criticize the military, but I don't think this ever should have happened. I can tell you that President Trump's furious that it did. Your thoughts about what we do now?
Well, we don't know exactly what the details are on how this drone apparently struck this oil tanker. We do know that there's been a history of the Navy from time to time protecting tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz. In the Iraq-Iran war in 1988, USS Samuel B. Roberts struck a mine and was nearly sunk. We had a couple of U.S. naval vessels, get struck by mines or drones in 1991 during Operation Desert Storm. But the challenge you have here is that even though Iran's major projection of lethal firepower has been virtually decapitated, they can't really hit us at this point or even hit Israel consistently. These cheap weapons like drones and like unmanned suicide boats and even mines are a real nuisance and a danger to the shipping. We have great defensive capabilities against all these, but it's a different type of defense than it is against knocking missiles out of the air. So we got to watch it real close.
I would imagine, Don, that, in the ocean, it's a whole different ball game as well. I mean, you can only have so many ships, and they send a swarm of drones. I mean, the philosophy from a military perspective is you throw as many drones as you can, and you can't shoot them all out of the sky, and you hope one gets through. And that's a very, very difficult, I would think, to defend from.
Yeah, well, we took out a drone carrier. They had a ship out there that, like we have aircraft carriers, they had only drones. We took that out last week. But look at the perspective here. Iran has 950 miles of its shoreline along the Persian Gulf, where most of OPEC's oil flows into the Straits of Hormuz. Put that in perspective. That's like from Washington, D.C. to Kansas City or Des Moines. That's a lot of coastline to have to defend against. I think the president is probably going to step up frigate and destroyers accompanying these tankers through the Straits. But we're going to have to be extremely vigilant because these are cheaper weapons that can wreak a lot of havoc. And you've got a lot of waterway out there to try to be responsible for, to try to protect against. I think we decapitate the regime. You got to take these mullahs out. You got to take these ayatollahs out altogether. Trump's given the warning. They hit one of our oil tankers, and now it's time to take them out, period, and end this tyrannical regime forever, in my opinion.
Boy, I think you're spot on there. Don Brown, as always, it's great having you on the program, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
Absolutely. There's lots of talk about drone attacks in California. Now, I saw this story. I said, what a load of crap. There is no way Iran has the capability to put a drone carrier off the coast of California. But ABC News ran with it. You better believe it. Caroline Levitt tweeted this out, and let me read it to you. It says, they wrote this based on one email talking about ABC News that was sent to local law enforcement in California about a single unverified tip. The email even states the tip was based on unverified intelligence. Yet ABC News left out this critical fact on the story. Why? Well, Caroline, we know exactly why, because they want to damage President Trump, and they want to do it through fear porn. They want to scare all of you. Fear-mongering is the way of the mainstream media. It's the best way they try to damage President Trump. So we knew it was bogus. Every media outlet ran with it after ABC. So you think ABC would apologize? I don't consider this an apology.
Kira, ABC News reviewed an alert that the FBI sent to California police about an aspiration that Iran had to retaliate against the United States by deploying attack drones to unspecified targets in California. Today, the FBI posted a full version of the alert, which says the intelligence that underpinned that FBI warning was unverified.
Do they take any blame for it? Of course not. Well, they left out on purpose the unverified. They had the original report to begin with. One more attack to tell you about. This one, a cyber attack. I'm not even convinced it was from Iran, but that's what Iran wants you to believe. This was on the medical device maker Stryker. So Stryker had their computer systems go down, and their phone system virtually wiped clean. Now, I can tell you these types of attacks happen every day in America. These hacking groups want to take out big companies. They can do economic damage to these companies that way. An Iranian hacking group, a pro-Iranian hacking group, was quick to take credit for all of this. I'm not sure I necessarily believe them. I think this is just another one of those hacks in the big scheme of hacking that happens every day in America. All right, most wireless companies don't care who you are or what you believe. They just want your money. Well, Patriot Mobile is different. For more than 12 years, they've stood with Americans who believe freedom is worth defending. And here's the deal. You don't have to give up quality or service when you switch to Patriot Mobile. They deliver premium priority access on all 3 major U.S. networks, so you'll get the same or better coverage than you have today. Think switching is a hassle? It isn't. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based customer support team can activate you in minutes. Still paying off a device? Patriot Mobile even offers a contract buyout. Go to patriotmobile.com/RAV or call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code RAV for that free month service. And, of course, you make sure you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, Americans overwhelmingly want all illegals deported. Not just the worst of the worst, but all of them. We'll talk about that next.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with a family I love.
Hi, my name's Paul Foyer. I'm Foyer04 in the Getter Chat. I love rap for all the Getter, all the War Room Posse, and all of you guys. Love y'all. Bye.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAV. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
Welcome back, everyone. We were one of the first to tell you about a group being formed of close confidants of President Trump that are urging the administration to keep up with the mass deportation plan, not just go after worst of the worst. Now, I've talked to the White House about this, and the White House says, look, if we catch somebody who's here illegally, they're going home, but they want to prioritize going after the worst offenders first. It makes sense. If you're going to put agents on the street, go catch the murderer first. But here's the problem. You need to be doing employment enforcement as well. I'm not saying you have to go into a Home Depot and start rounding people up. But if you start doing employment checks, this is imperative because mass immigration has great effects on us, not just from crime, but financially as well. Listen to Jessica Vaughn. She's testified before Congress. She's with the Center for Immigration Studies.
My organization has found that over 60% of illegal alien-headed households are using at least one form of welfare program, and usually more than one, at a cost of tens of billions of dollars to taxpayers. This is why any resources spent on immigration enforcement actually save taxpayer money in the long run.
Think about that number. 60% of illegal aliens are on an American welfare program. That means we're paying for that. This is why overwhelmingly when we voted for President Trump, we voted for mass deportation. This is Rosemary Jenks, also an expert on immigration.
Being in Washington, D.C., we get our heads patted all the time by politicians who say, you know, it's just not popular. Mass deportations, they're just, we can't do those. You know, we're going to focus on the worst of the worst. Everyone agrees that criminals have to go. We're sick and tired of being patted on the head. So we decided to go out and get the proof that Americans, not just Trump voters, especially Trump voters, but Americans actually want mass deportations.
All right, so her group that we first told you about here weeks ago went out and got this survey from the McLaughlin Group to do it, and I want you to look at some of the findings here. 66.1% support deporting illegal aliens who cross the border illegally. 66.1% support deporting the 1.6 million illegal aliens with final orders of deportation from an immigration judge. And nearly 65% support deporting visa overstayers. Okay? That's big. Here's more findings. Nearly 80% support escalating penalties for businesses that repeatedly violate immigration hiring laws. 82% support the federal government notifying employers when Social Security numbers don't match government records, and 70% support strengthening worksite enforcement. We can go down the list on and on and on. The bottom line is the majority of Americans, in a big way, want people here illegally sent home. I want to bring in to discuss this now the president of the Immigration Accountability Project, Chris Kemalinsky, is with us. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Chris, are you surprised by this survey that the numbers are as big as they are here?
Not really. You know, we sort of expected this, but we were glad we were able to verify it. That makes us feel a whole lot better. You know, we knew that after the 2024 elections, the President Trump had a clear mandate to move forward with what he promised was the largest deportation operation that the United States had ever seen. And little over a year later, that's still the case. He has a very strong mandate to conduct this moving forward. And, you know, to go back to your question, I don't think there was really anything that surprised us through this poll. It just reaffirmed what we already knew, but it also gave us hard evidence so that we could show the decision makers that, hey, this is something that's very popular amongst the American electorate, and you shouldn't be running away from it.
You know, the other thing, I think there are those politicians in Washington, specifically what we call rhinos, Republicans in name only, that are very scared of this. But the survey also showed that by and large, especially amongst the base of Republicans, this is not a dangerous issue for the election season. We have midterms coming up. In fact, this could be an issue to campaign on, not to run away from, Chris.
It absolutely is. And that's why we actually asked a couple of questions specifically of Trump voters. Once we identified the Trump voters, we wanted to find out how much did the president's promise to execute mass deportations influenced your decision to vote for President Trump? And overwhelmingly, more than 80% said yes, his promise to carry out the largest mass deportation operation in history impacted my vote. But they also expect it. We asked them if they wanted to surpass President Eisenhower, who currently holds the record for the most deportations of any administration. About 1/3 of all illegal aliens left the country under his administration. If they wanted to see the president exceed that, and not just Trump voters supported it, but when we broke it out and looked at Hispanic Trump voters, they also overwhelmingly said yes. So this doesn't hurt them across any demographic. Trump voters want this, and they also told us that they would be more motivated to go out and vote in the midterm elections if they knew that the president was on pace to deport more than 1 million illegal aliens in 2026.
Look, far and away, the best and quickest way to get these people deported has been this voluntary deportation plan. You're looking at, I think it's almost 2 million people have voluntarily deported themselves now. I think President Trump is continuing to carry this mass deportation plan out. I think this whole worst of the worst is messaging from the White House, maybe to appease those in the middle, maybe to appease some on the left. I think it's more about messaging than it is about the actual mission. Your thoughts, last word, Chris.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, because the American public, at least through our polling, made it very, very clear they don't want to just see the worst of the worst deported. They wanted the foreign student who overstays their visa. They want to see that person deported. They want to see business visitors who overstay their visa. They want that person. And of course, they want all illegal border crossers deported as well. They want pretty much anybody who's in the country illegally subject to deportation. And you mentioned it at the beginning. The best way to reach that goal of the largest mass deportation operation in history is through worksite enforcement. That's where you're going to find the largest number of illegal aliens. And that's also going to encourage them to self-deport if they know that they're no longer going to be able to find work in the United States.
And I would add this: hold the employers accountable as well. Do not give the employers a pass. This is why we have the problem in many respects in the first place. Chris Kemalinsky, it's great having you on the program. Great work with this survey. This is really important, and I'm sure those in the administration will get a chance to look at it, and we appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks, Grant, for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, folks, listen up. Ken Paxton is putting a stop to Islam-centered city housing projects. We will talk about that, of course, in Texas. But first, just a quick reminder, March 25th through the 28th, Rav's coverage of the Dallas CPAC event will be presented by Patriot Mobile and Birch Gold. Check it out.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th, CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the Rav stage. Hear from Rav's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G and others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice, presented by Birch Gold Group and Patriot Mobile.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shop. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with the family I love.
Hi, my name's Paul Poyer. I'm Poyer04 in the Getter Chat. I love rap for all the Getter, all the War Room Posse, and all of you guys. Love y'all. Bye.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to Rab. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
Welcome back, everyone. We will continue our coverage of immigration, and in this case, H-1B visa. That's where we bring in foreign workers. I believe they're displacing American workers. This is Senator Eric Schmidt.
Now is the HB1 program in particular, a lot of abuse. There are companies firing thousands of American workers at a time to bring in lower cost, more compliant foreign workers to do the same job. The biggest lie is that somehow we didn't have enough Americans to do these jobs. That's not true.
One of the reasons why we were putting somewhat of a stop to that is because there were many online conservative influencers, investigators that were using an H-1B database that was provided by the federal government to go research who had H-1B visas. And turns out Texas was ground zero for all of this. Well, that database went down unexpectedly. You couldn't search it anymore. Who figured that out? Well, the chief executive officer and member of the editorial board at the Dallas Express, Christopher Putnam, is with us. His crew over at the Dallas Express exposed the story of the site going down. First, Christopher, welcome to the program. But secondly, it looks like the site's back up. Your thoughts? What's going on here? Because it was very suspect.
Yeah, the site's back up. What was interesting was we've been engaged in a very long series on using data from that database in terms of showing each city who the biggest employers in their area are for H-1B applicants. And right at the peak of readership of that series, boom, the system goes down, and it went down for a good 5 days and without any real explanation as to why. Finally came back up, just in the last, I believe, 24 hours or 48 hours or so. And they cited technical difficulties with the going down, but there's still some parts of the database that aren't accessible.
Now, I'm not going to take any credit for this because I don't know if it has anything to do with it or not. But I emailed a very high-ranking member of the White House very early this morning, and then lo and behold, I'm told they'll look into it and it's up and running. So
yeah,
I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But first, when I read this story, I said, I'll bet you there's no way the White House knows this. This has deep state written all over it, Christopher.
Yeah, look, we believe truth is sacrosanct, and we always try to get to the truth of a situation. If there are, legitimate technical issues, that's understood. These things happen. This one feels very suspicious, however. Again, the conversation was becoming palpable statewide in these various cities where we were publishing these lists. We're well read, as you know, and then boom, the data was just completely unavailable. And again, in terms of batch file formats and being able to export a lot of that data now, we still can't do that. And so we're actually going through an exercise now to just check the integrity of the data that's there against the data we had previously. I can't tell you if there were any Machiavellian, backgrounds behind this or not, but certainly it's questionable.
It is, and a lot of people, not just the Dallas Express, but, individually, we had a young lady on who was instrumental in exposing some of the numbers of the H-1B visas issued here in Texas. All of this gets connected, of course, back to the Muslim takeover of Texas, because let's face it, many of these H-1B visa holders are coming from Middle Eastern countries. We've got this epic city. We've covered it here on this program, north of Dallas. Let me put up a tweet from the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, who's running for Senate, and it says, quote 3 for the guys, it says, from beginning to end, the East Plano Islamic Center development has been an illegal scheme designed to circumvent state law and destroy beautiful Texas. My office's investigation of Epic City, its developers, and associated governmental, non-governmental entities is ongoing. He's not giving up on it. What does this mean, Chris? Does it mean, how do you stop this? I wonder, within the bounds of the law, can it be stopped?
I used to ask the same question. I still do of a lot of these same elected officials, including the Attorney General. It's complicated, as you know. There are some constitutional issues. However, some of those same constitutional issues are actually working against some of these developments. For example, the federal housing and urban development Secretary Scott Turner has launched his own investigation on the basis of discriminatory religious practices. In most of these communities, if you're not Muslim, you're not necessarily welcome there. And in this case, with Paxton Epic City, there's a number of issues at play. He believes there's securities fraud, which has been referred over the Texas Securities Board, because the Texas Securities Board has to do an investigation of their own and then refer it back to the Attorney General so he can prosecute. There's all sorts of shenanigans going on with these municipal utility districts, because they use MUD districts as a way to circumvent state and federal regulations and government oversight. And a lot of these boards are being constituted in the dark. There's an example also out in Kaufman where, they're contemplating one of these communities out there, and they literally held a MUD district meeting in the middle of an intersection that had no facilities. and they of course didn't provide, public notice of that meeting. And then they stack these boards and effectively take over those local governments.
Real quick, Kaufman County, Texas is just south of Dallas. I saw this in the Dallas Express. There is a Dubai-based group of investors looking to buy land there and build another one of these facilities. Dallas Express is hot on it. In just 15 or 20 seconds, can you explain what's happening there?
It's precisely like Epic City. And look, if you have to be intellectually dishonest with yourself and everybody else not to understand what's going on here. It's a copycat of what they've done in Minnesota. It's a copycat of what they've done in London. In this case, they're very sophisticated legally. They figured out how to circumnavigate, local and state regulations using these MUD districts and come in and effectively take over the local governments, build these communities out, and then start to populate them. And so that one's ongoing. Paxton claims to be all over it as well, back to the legitimacy of these municipal utility districts and their representation, as well as these Fair Housing Act issues that surround them. And so they're literally looking at a range of legal actions to take against them.
I know that you guys will be on it. And for everybody out there, the Dallas Express is not just a Dallas-based paper. You guys cover some national issues like nobody else does. It's a great paper. I urge people to check it out at dallasexpress.com. Chris Putnam, it's always great having you on the program. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you, Grant. Take care.
Good to see you, too. Good work. All right. Up next, America is reclaiming its position as the energy capital of the world. We're going to tell you how you can be a part of this. We're going to expand on a very exciting project we've been talking about.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with a family I love.
Hi, my name's Paul Foyer. I'm Foyer04 in the Getter Chat. I love rap for all the Getter, all the War Room Posse, and all of you guys. Love y'all. Bye.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to Rab. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
Back, everyone. As someone who's been in Dallas, Texas for 25 years, I can tell you the oil and gas business is not just exciting, but it's a hell of a lot of fun.
All I've got to say is drill, baby, drill. I'm certainly glad that all of you have the ability to see what's going on out here from start to finish.
Treasures of darkness and the hidden wealth of secret places.
Listen, we're all here together. I'm in love with this deal.
Well, that's a project out in Wyoming that's being run by Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. They found natural gas and lots of it on a 40,000-acre parcel where an old uranium mine used to be. I want to bring in now the president and CEO of Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. Mark Bruner is back. Mark, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you again, Grant.
All right, Mark, you've got a big announcement. You've got Halliburton on board with this. Why is this instrumental in this project?
Well, I had a really wonderful relationship with Halliburton over the years. They actually provided $100 million in financing for Ultra Petroleum, my big successful deal in the Green River Basin. So we are going to be utilizing them and all the new technology with their experience in the deep Utica play in Pennsylvania and Jerry Jones's play in that Western Haynesville. We're going to be standing on the shoulders of all the successful completions and drilling and completions they have, where we're going to be utilizing all their experience. And our basin is very much like both of those plays. And I think those are the two big new economic plays in the United States of America. The interesting thing for us, though, is that we are at the very beginning and we're the only operator of this basin. So we expect big things, and these are going to be what we consider to be very high volume, high productivity wells.
One of the reasons why I like bringing you on, Mark, is because it's not often Stinchfield's Army gets a chance to be involved with a project like this. Now, you've got to be an accredited investor, I know, but explain to me, most of these projects are reserved for family offices, big Wall Street firms, and very, very, very tied in and connected people. People now have a chance to get involved with you, don't they?
Well, I think we've gone to some of my previous investors that were very happy about their investments. And so we really bypassed that. And so I think that's one of the reasons we've been very successful. And we just think with Trump's New Deal, where you can deduct 100% of this off your taxes, it's a really nice situation. So it's one of those deals we're kind of skipping over a lot of the middlemen, so to speak, and going directly to accredited investors. And we're excited about that game plan.
Well, one of the things about you, Mark, I've gotten to know you now over the last couple months, and a very, very dear friend of mine is very close to you. He's been with you for 20 years and made a lot of money with you, he tells me. You are committed to the success of others. Can you talk to me a little bit about it? Not to be corny, Mark, but seriously, this has been a theme. Everybody I talk to that surrounds you says you love this, getting other people to have success.
Well, I think, one of the things that we think all of our investors are part of our family, the Lost Soldier family. And when we do well and they do well, it's wonderful for their families, their children, their grandchildren. And we think this is a legacy gas field that's going to be around for a long time. The nearest field to us has been producing for over 100 years. Still makes 3,500 barrels a day. So we think we're in the right place at the right time with the right technology, with the right giant gas deposit in place that we've got. And it's overpressured. We think the wells are going to be big wells. And we're certainly looking forward to this, developing this field. And we plan actually to go public within 5 years. And we are really predicting it's going to be a giant IPO.
Well, that would be just amazing. Halliburton has a long history here in Texas, too, and the fact that they're on board with a project like that says really, really big things. Mark Bruner, I'm going to tell people how they can find you and the folks at Lost Soldier. You can click the QR code on your screen right there. I guess you don't click it. I guess you shoot it with your phone, technology today. Or you can just go the old-fashioned way, lostsoldier.com. That's lostsoldier.com. Fill out the form. They'll get in touch with you right away, and then when you talk to them, make sure you tell them you saw them here, and I promise you won't be disappointed talking to these folks. All right, typical Democrat wants to tax more of your money. We will talk about all that next.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.